Okay, it's time now to get a little less technical for a while. I'll give you a brain break and help you understand some of the important things that are going on at CWNP. The Chuck's presentation is always a valuable presentation, and it gives us some really good information. Now, here in this session, we're going to be looking at the updates at CWNP, what's happening at CWNP, what's coming, and so forth. So as we look through these updates, it'll give you important information about what's coming in the future, as well as what we've accomplished this year. So let's talk a little bit about what's going to be happening at CWNP. What we're doing is, first of all, taking a look at new certifications coming in 2020. We're releasing these certifications actually starting on September the 1st. And so starting September the 1st, we had the new version of CWNA, the new version of CWICP, which is a brand new certification, and CWIIP. These different certifications are available now, and we ran the actual boot camps for these at the conference here over the last 3 days and had a lot of people attending them. The CWNA 108 boot camp was run by Robert Bartz. CWICP was run by Jonathan Davis, and I had the opportunity to teach CWIIP myself. And in the process, expose a large number of people to what we're covering in these various different certifications and help to get feedback as well for how we can continue to make these certifications as good as possible. So CWNA 108, of course, is the new version of the CWNA certification, and CWICP is a brand new certification in the IoT track focused on connectivity. So the focus here is on making sure that we actually have the ability to get our IoT devices connected by understanding the protocols that they use. There are actually many different protocols covered in that certification. It covers 802.15.4, which is a base protocol, but then it also covers the protocols that use 802.15.4, like Zigbee, ISA 111A, Wireless HART, Thread, 6LoWPAN, and so forth. And then we also cover what you might say are long-range IoT protocols, things like LoRa, LoRaWAN, and Sigfox, in relation to its focus in the IoT industry. So a lot of different protocols covered, including even a little bit of Z-Wave, not as heavy there because it's mostly used in the consumer space these days. But with all of those protocols, you can imagine it's a pretty intensive course and a pretty intensive certification. And then we cover in CWIIP the way that we integrate, the way that we bring together these different IoT solutions. So we're looking at things like the ability to take the data from many different IoT devices and bring that together for useful purposes, for business analytics and so forth. And we also look at how to develop systems and solutions from beginning to end. And so we talk about requirements engineering and why it's important. And we also focus on the fact that we don't have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to requirements engineering. There are good standards out there that help us to have solid procedures and processes for requirements engineering. We cover those in CWIIP. And if you haven't done any real programming at all or programming in Python, you get the opportunity to be exposed to what that looks like. And several hours within the course, for example, of focusing on Python and how we get things done within Python. Specifically also leading eventually to how do we do IoT in Python. So you'll get the opportunity to learn about MQTT and how we actually talk to MQTT brokers using the Python language and so forth. You also get to even see a little bit of packet capture of the communications of those higher level protocols. In the Wi-Fi space, we've traditionally looked at the frame level, right? We want to see what's happening at layer 2. Well, in CWIIP, we go up higher and we take a look at actual packets being transmitted on the network by our IoT devices. So some really exciting things there. Those two certifications are available in the IoT track, and we'll still see more coming in the future, and I'll be talking about that in just a moment. But before I do, we have a very important announcement. So get your virtual clapping ready because here comes a big announcement, and that is CWNE 400. Olivier Leduc has received the CWNE 400 designation, so we've reached it. It's been a lot of years coming, but we have gotten to this level, and it's actually growing very rapidly. I want to talk to you a little bit about that because it's not just about CWNE 400, but also we will be announcing in the coming days 401, 402, and 403 already. So we're moving into the 400s very quickly. So if you were hoping to get 404, the HTTP error response, maybe that's the one you were after. Well, there's a process already happening, and I will warn you, someone's going to get it, but it won't be you if you haven't gotten your application in. Well, what have we done? In the last year, we've had more than 70 CWNE applications processed since the 2019 conference, and more than 50 new CWNEs. So that's just wonderfully exciting to us to see that continue to grow, to see people really completing the process and getting to that expert level. And we're very excited about the fact that we'll be able to see people do that in the IoT track in the coming years as well. Now, related to CWNE, I do want to give you a reminder. First of all, starting on January 1st, 2021, as we announced last year at the conference, all CWNE applications must include CWISA and one external certification. So starting January 1st, 2021, if you submit your application on that day or later, you will have to have the CWISA certification and one external certification instead of two external certifications. Look at the requirements and it'll all become more clear, but that takes place January the 1st. Starting on October the 15th, CWNE applications may include CWISA. So if your CWNE application's in process and you've got the CWISA and you want to use that as one of your two certifications, you may do that beginning on October 15th. So to be clear, if you submit your application through the portal on October 15th or later, before the end of this year, you can use CWISA as one of your two certification requirements that are traditionally those external certifications. That's being done because a lot of people have come to me and said, we'd really like to be able to do it because I want to start into that CWISA or IoT track. And so because of that, we've chosen to make it available to you as an option. But again, remember, it's not required before the end of the year, but after January 1st, it will be required. All right, 2021, are you ready? I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but a lot's coming in 2021. Tom Carpenter's workload will be full. We're going to be updating CWS and CWT. So if you're familiar with those entry-level certifications, they've been very, very popular in higher education as an introduction to wireless networking and communications, as well as in many different companies. And so we will be updating those. And of course, as you can expect, we'll be including that basic entry-level information about 802.11ax, WPA3, OWE, all of that stuff that's come along since roughly 3 years ago when we first released those certifications. In addition to that, next year, it's update time for CWDP and CWAP. So both of those certifications will be updated next year. Of course, including new protocol changes, common industry capabilities that might have been introduced since the last updates that are across vendors, and possibly automation processes where applicable, because that's coming into Wi-Fi more as well. And then in addition to that, next year we'll have two brand new certifications in the IoT track. The CWIDP will be the final IoT track exam-based certification. So that certification is going to require an exam, and it will be focused on design in the IoT track. And then the CWISE will be the final IoT track certification. It will not be exam-based. It will be similar to CWNE. Watch for announcements in Q1 next year to understand more about the certification process, how you'll fill out your application and so forth, and how we'll be building that initial board to select the people who do acquire the CWISE. And just so you get a little bit of insight, we're still working on it, early exposure, so we'll be changing and updating these as necessary, but it gives you an idea of what your badges might look like when you gain these certifications as they're released next year. I want to wrap up by reminding you what we talked about last year and the year before, why the IoT track, with some up-to-date statistics. Industrial and manufacturing IoT market size today is about $82.4 billion, while the smart home market is about $85 billion. Keep in mind that 4 years ago, the smart home market was about 4 or 5 times bigger than the industrial manufacturing IoT space. The expected growth of industrial manufacturing IoT over the next several years is a CAGR of 21.3%, with the smart home market being only 11.6%. So what's the end result? Well, around 2028, what we expect is the industrial manufacturing IoT market to be a $385 billion market, and the smart home market to be $188 billion. Now, why am I focusing on that? Well, because if you look at the top 10 IoT application areas of 2020 by one report, manufacturing and industrial is the top at 22%, but look at all of the others under it. And we only talked about the numbers in industrial and manufacturing IoT. This space is exploding. So what you want to do is make sure you start your journey. And that means that, first of all, get excited. Look at the technologies that are coming in that wireless IoT space. And then get educated and get certified and get those qualifications that are going to help you find success. Thanks for watching this update, and I look forward to being with you throughout the rest of the conference.